Okay guys, I'm going to talk through with you in this first part of this video in tutorial is about taking basic ideas for a icon set that you've done and bringing it onto the computer. We're going to be using Illustrator primarily for this because we need to draw accurate and detailed elements of the image, whatever it is you're going to choose for your theme. I'm just going to open up now an Illustrator document I've already got open. I took a picture of an initial ideas I drew for some drinks icons. That's what my theme was going to be. And as you can see, I've got sort of a mug with a tea bag in it, quite a standard coffee takeaway mug, a wine glass, a bottle, and a pint of beer. Okay, for the sake of this tutorial, I'm just going to run through and build the one from start to finish. By all means, you feel free to follow it along. Some of you may be more advanced and know a lot of this already. For others, it's an opportunity for you to maybe refine skills that you have or you're less confident with. So I'm going to use the mug as our subject matter for this. And all I've done simply is taken a photograph of my icons. You'll notice that I did it in graph paper, but I haven't been very strict with the grids. It's up to you whether you choose to do it on gridded graph paper or normal paper, but main thing is just we want to get the visual outline of what it looks like on screen. You can see it's a bit messy. We've zoomed in at over 400% down here. What I'm going to do is show you how you can use a combination of the pen tool and the shapes tool and the Pathfinder tool to create your outline in this first part of the video, and then in the second we'll take it forward and start looking at how we add and refine and finish and make the icon. Okay, right, let's begin. Now, whenever we're going to use this to trace, and whenever we do anything tracing, we need to make sure that you would lock the background. So I've selected it. You can't see that I've selected it, but you can see now when I zoom out. Object, lock, selection. Now before you do this, depending on how high contrast it is, you may decide to reduce the opacity. I like to do it by about 50%. So I can see it, and then it just means that anything I draw over the top I can see clearer. So I'll just go object arrange, object lock, selection, and let's zoom back in. Right, we've got two basic shapes in terms of full shapes. We've got a half shape and then some lines on here. So let's start off with the main bulk of this mug. What I want really is a flat top and a rounded edge. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the shape tool. I'm going to just put a black outline with no fill. Now before you get too into this, make sure in Illustrator you go into your preferences and in general you tick scale, strokes and effects. That means that when you increase something or decrease something, the point size is relative and it's constrained. It's not going to change. Right. So I'm just going to draw the box to fill roughly the area that would be kind of squared. Okay, and at this point you may decide to start experimenting with stroke thickness, and I'm just going to increase that up to 3. Okay, and then what I want is rounded corners down here. There's a couple of ways you can do this. The first one is quite simply having the rectangle go all the way to the bottom. And then using the pen tool, if I just rip this off and use the plus anchor point, now you might not get it very accurate, but I'm just putting some new points on the path here, and as you can tell by the messages that come up on my screen, you've got to make sure you hit it right on the head. I'm then going to delete these two paths, and then I'm going to use this tool, the convert anchor point, and just holding the shift key, I'm dragging that along to just round the corner. Okay, just pulling on those Bezier pens. It gives you round corners. They're not very accurate. In order to get them accurate, you'd need to plot out guides and so forth. Just going to undo all that. go back to our other one. So the other option is to use the ellipse tool or circle tool. So what I'm going to do is draw two circles. Now I'm only looking for a quarter of the circle effectively for this, and I'm going to do one at a time. I'm just going to what you can see I've done is I've made sure that this point here is in line with this point here. I'll just reduce the point size down. That's what we have with constraining the proportions when we zoom up and zoom down, but you've got a circle there that kind of just lends itself and smooths into that. Before we do anything with that circle, we're going to copy it over to here so that then this point snaps in with this line, and you can make sure you've got your smart guides on. That will all help. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is use the white arrow tool. We are going to delete, and we have to be wary of the fact that if we drag and select, we're going to delete things we don't want to delete for now. We are going to delete 3/4 of each of that circle, and then I'm going to click on this line and delete that line in between these two. And then it's quite simply a case of joining these two up. I've selected those two lines and pressed Command J. Select this and this to get Command J. And then, although it doesn't appear to be broken, it is technically broken. We just do it one more time, and there we go. Right, we've got our mug shape. Okay, this little label, although it's hard to tell, I want this to be almost like hexagonal or octagonal. So what I'm going to do is I can go to the polygon tool and put 8 sides, for example. Now I'm just going to make it quite big, reduce it down. Now I want it to not be proportionate all the way around. I want it to be longer in one sense. So I'm going to just select the white arrow tool, select the points below here. You can see that sometimes you might have issues with selecting other bits. I'm just using the arrow keys to get it bigger. Alright, so once you're happy with the size of it, let's get it into position. Let's increase its stroke width to 3 so it's relative to the rest of it. And then we just simply need to draw a line that goes up from there to there. Okay. Now, just because you've set everything in your drawing doesn't mean to say that it's fixed like that. So for example, these 3 lines going up, I could just quite easily go 1, 2, 3, change the height of 1 and have it like that. But maybe that's a bit too boring. Maybe we would like to give it a bit more of an impression with Steam by having some wiggly lines. So we go back to the pen tool. What I'm going to do is just click and drag, come to about here, click and drag. I was holding shift then, you'll notice, and then if I go to about here, click and drag. And you can just sort of tweak it, using the white arrow tool, just to play around with the just the general style, the general look, and yeah, whatever you want to do really. So I can make 3 of these now if I wanted to. I could have 3 completely different ones, but for the sake of the icon I'm just going to keep it simple. And then just get the spacing even. It's tricky to get it bang on, so to get spacing even, what I do is, before I just go back to this, what I'll do is I'll select this, holding the Alt key, see the icon coming up, click and drag, hold Shift key to where you want it, and then once you're happy with that, if you go Object, Transform, Move, it will give you the option to plan and plot in the exact movement. Okay, so it's going to remember the last amount moved. We'd click copy and then it duplicates it for us. The alternative is that the quick keyboard shortcut is Command D, which does exactly the same thing. Okay, the last thing we're going to do now is we're going to do the handle. The handle is going to be quite simple. I want it to be obviously an ellipse. for the majority of it. So what I'm going to do is draw out, holding Alt key, which will allow me to come up from the centre, draw out an ellipse that roughly goes where I want it. Again, I'm not sticking religiously to my drawing, but if I wanted to, I could sort of tweak this top bit. We're using the white arrow tool to get the mug handle looking a bit more relatively, flatter on one side and top the other. Select this point with the white arrow tool and delete that. And there we go, we've got our mug. Right, before I do anything else to this, I'm just going to copy it, because when working with objects in their raw format, so what we are working with here is a selection of raw elements which are paths, lines or strokes, whatever you want to call it. We want to convert those paths to an object. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select everything. On the one that I've duplicated, I'm keeping the original one. It's always good to keep an original matrix just in case you need to go back and change it. We go to the object, we go to path, and we go quite simply to outline stroke. And what that does is it draws that preview line around the outside. So what we don't have anymore are lines, even though visually they are lines. They are objects, they are shapes, and you can start doing what you need to with those shapes or those objects any further. Then it would be a bit trickier than working with them in the raw element, but why we've done this is because they're then an object, a graphic object, and I'm just going to duplicate it one more time over here, and I'm going to just go Window, Pathfinder, and open up the Pathfinder tool, and we've got plenty of options here. Now the idea is to unite all of these shapes, and quite simply select everything and click the Unite button, and you'll notice if I just undo that, all those little overlaps that you can see here, I'll just zoom in, disappear, and that's made it one object, one solid graphic. And that's important to have for this basically outline thing, because when you start adding detail or start playing around with more fine elements of it, you can take it into Photoshop, you can keep it in Illustrator, you can colour in these individual sections, and that's fine. At least you've got the raw, you've got the solid outline there and then. That's just not going to cause you any problems. Okay. As always with your work, make sure you save it. So the same principle would apply to any of these other outline ones here. We're going to wrap that one up for there, and in the next tutorial I'm going to show you how we will take this and start refining and developing it further to a more finished icon.